Welcome, aspiring aviators, pilots, and CFIs, and welcome to episode 3 of the Blue Skies Private Pilot Crash Course, where we will be going over the electrical system in a small airplane, its components, and an overview of how it works. We will end off this part with some questions that may or may not be on the practice and FAA written exam. This part of the crash course is designed to go over what is required for the written exam and practical applications of a private pilot. Disclaimer: the information in here was defined 200 to 300 years ago and will only allow you to fly safely wherever you want, whenever you want, like you are the Greek god Apollo. Do not try to build a computer using only this section. It will probably not work very nicely. And let's get started. Back in the Wright brothers airplane, they did not care so much about the safety of the pilot. Success meant taking off, so they had less equipment that they had to power, really, leaving only the engine requiring electricity to start just before dumping their battery off the plane to save space and weight. Now, fast forward to today, when we got planes like this. Success is not just getting off the ground safely, but flying and landing safely as well. Thus, we have a lot more tools at our disposal in our electrical system, including but not limited to what creates and stores power, the battery. I mean, it doesn't exactly create power. We're going to go on to that later. This is typically 12 to 24 volts in a small aircraft, and it stores either amount of electricity to power the system. We then have what charges the battery right here. It is the alternator, typically 14 or 28 volts, just a little bit higher than the battery so that it can charge it effectively. And a battery during use loses power, so the alternator is there to charge the battery back up so that you don't have to worry about a dead battery in flight. We then have what takes power to operate, which is all the avionics, including but not limited to something like the radio, the GPS, the lights. Always have a backup flashlight, just so you know. The landing light, so that we can see the runway in the dark. We have panel lights so that we can see instruments in the dark. We have nav lights, which are always green on the right side and red on the left side, just so you know. We then have gyroscopes or gyros, which are necessary to work on different instruments. That's just some of the instruments. But then we also have instruments that will be provided to monitor your electrical system, including your circuit breakers, which protect electrical equipment from receiving more currents than they can safely handle, which is very important, and are to be checked before every flight to make sure nothing is out of the ordinary. If one is popped out, then you'll know something is out of the ordinary and wrong. We then have the load meter and the ammeter, measuring different things but accomplish the same goal. The load meter is a device that tells the pilot how much electricity the alternator is delivering to the system. It should always read a certain amount designated by your POH, the pilot operating handbook. If you have a working alternator, it reads 0, then it either means you're on the ground with the plane turned off, or you should head that way because the alternator has disconnected or failed, which is an issue. We can go on to the ammeter now, which tells the pilot if the electricity is flowing in or out of the battery. If the system is working as intended, as it should be at or around the middle, which is 0, indicating the battery is neither charging nor discharging net. If it is continuously deflecting left or right, it means your battery is getting drained, which is to the left typically, or your battery is getting charged to the right, which is normal for short intervals. If this is occurring for longer than the operating handbook POH allows, should be getting it inspected and being concerned, especially if you're in flight. Now that we've gone over the components, we need to understand how they work so that if you go to a mechanic and they say, oh, your cigarette lighter's out, you'll understand that you could probably still fly that day as compared to, oh, your battery's broken or your alternator's gone. So very, very practically helpful. A good analogy for flying planes or driving cars, not exactly building computers, is the water analogy. And that is, water is to electricity, or to pipes is to wires. Pressure is to voltage. That's where it gets a little more difficult. Voltage can be thought of as the pressure that pushes electricity through the wires or the pipes, just like water pressure. We're going to be measuring that in volts right there. Water flow is to current. Current can be thought of as the amount of electricity actually flowing through pipes, and we're going to be measuring that all in amps. This is where it gets a little funny. We got this big old beautiful drawing of a water balloon that I got. That is going to be the battery. Water balloon is to battery, just like right there. You could think of it as a battery as storage of unit of electricity that is trying to push it all out, just like a water balloon. As long as you got it hooked up, you got to be sure not to overload it or to bash it with a sharp object. You don't want to do that. We also got the water pump is to the alternator in a system just like my beautiful drawing right there. The alternator can be thought of as a water pump taking electricity from one source and pushing it into the system. Using these analogies allows for an easier first look at an electrical system. You can see right over here that the alternator, the water pump, is actually creating or pushing the wires or the pipes with voltage, which is the water pressure, to create currents, which is water flow, to all of the buses. We have a primary bus and we have a avionics bus, and this is all going to be disconnected from the master switch, which separates both of them in this example. The battery, which is the water balloon in this example, can be used as a backup to the alternator for how long. It depends on how much electricity you are using and the size of your battery, and if it's the alternator is completely gone, all that kind of jazz. If any one instrument does receive too much electricity at one time, it could damage or ruin an instrument. That's why at the buses we can see that there are circuit breakers between every single instrument, like the gyros, the panel lights, anything that really needs power. So these circuit breakers actually end up protecting it from too much voltage. If it does end up not working, or someone just doesn't have circuit breakers in their plane, overloading an instrument or a light will completely just break it. It's very expensive. That's why you have circuit breakers. It's and all that jazz. It's all connected to the electrical ground. This is all the electrician stuff you don't really need to know unless you're building planes or you're the mechanic. Alternator, just like the water pump, we got the buses where the circuit breaker and all the instruments are going to be taking the water or the electricity. It's going to be electricity. You see where this analogy kind of breaks down. That all sums up the electrical system and how it works. We have gone over the electrical system of an aircraft, including its components and how it all works. As promised, linked below are a handful of questions you may or may not see on an FAA written exam or a final exam for a particular online course pertaining to these subjects. Thank you all so much for watching, and do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll also be monitoring the comments, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them, please. I wish you all blue skies and tailwinds. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Good luck. Have fun. Be safe.